Hi, so hey folks, welcome back I guess, and the purpose of this video is just going to be a bit of a roundup of what gear I took with me and what worked and what didn't, and any tips I can give about the With Hell and Way in general, what you might want to pack that I didn't, or what you might not want to pack that I did, that kind of thing. I promised someone that I wouldn't use any sweary words on this, so I'm going to try very hard not to, Mr. Shaw. I'm going to run through this. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do next, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, and we'll go from there. And people might have questions. If you do have questions, just put them in the comments, and I'll answer them, every one. Quite happy to. I'm also going to put down there a list of the things that I got, where I got them from, if I can remember. It's easier for Amazon because I can just go into my Amazon orders and check and see what I bought from there. So I'll put Amazon links down below for some of the stuff that was good. Not all of it was. Right, so there's that, and yeah, let's have a look at stuff which is in a big pile here, not really in any very good order. But let's start with a tent, a OEX Phoxx 2, Phoxx 2 version 2 specifically. Not sure what the difference between the versions was or is. Somebody can tell me if they want. I've got the poles and the pegs separate. I don't know what I've actually done with them. They're in here somewhere. Just because it's easier to pack them that way. And I did swap out a lot of the pegs for some slightly lighter but stronger ones. That works out quite well as well. So, would I recommend the Phoxx 2? Yeah. I didn't get wet. It didn't cause me any problems. It mostly kept the midges out when I gave it a chance to. And nothing bad to say about it really. Can you get lighter tents? Yes. Yes, you can. It's going to cost you a lot more money. And there's quite a few sort of competitors to this. There's the Vargo one, might be the Banshee 2-man, not sure, but if you check the Vargo stuff, it's quite good from what I hear. And the Nature High Cloud something or other, 2-man tent, again in the same ballpark roughly. They're actually all of a much of a muchness with the weight though. I checked, there's not much difference between them. To get the much lighter ones, you either have to start looking at £200-300 more money, or look at a different style of tent, like one of the Lanshan ones, which uses your hiking poles as actually the poles. So you've got basically one pole here, and a ridge line, and then the tent goes down on either side. And I can see the attraction in that, because if you're already carrying hiking poles, what's the point in carrying your tent poles, which are in my case about 300 grams, I think. So you're saving weight by just simply using your own hiking poles to erect your tent. So that's maybe a thing to look at. It's maybe something I'll look at for next year. I don't think it would be much good for cold weather, but this would. So as my next trip is going to be in the tail end of September, heading towards October in Scotland, yeah, I'm going to go for as much warmth as I can get away with really. But yeah, the OEX Phoxx 2, I got this from Go Outdoors. I think it was £60-70. I'm not sure exactly, but I'd recommend it. What I might do next weekend, if the weather's nice, I'm planning on going for another sort of shakedown walk. I might go out and just film pitching this tent and talk about it a wee bit if I can find somewhere it's not too windy and it's not chucking it down with rain. So might do that. But yeah, I liked it, and I'll use it again, certainly. What's next? Let's just keep with the big three, as people like to say. So, rucksack. Osprey Exos 48, very popular bag. I saw quite a few of them, and I see even more of them on YouTube, and there's a reason for that. It's just they're really, really good. You can get a bigger one, 58, 60, 70 litre, and you do see some of those on the trail for sure. The problem I think with a sort of 60 litre rucksack rather than a 48 is that you will find things to put in there that you wouldn't put in a 48 because you didn't have space. And it doesn't mean you need those things. You know, you'd have got by without them. It's just extra weight to carry. So smaller bag you can get away with, I would say probably the best shout. This, I can't really speak highly enough of this. I've had some bad rucksacks over the years. I've never really spent a lot of money on them. This was, I think, £120, right? So it's a lot of money for me to spend on a rucksack. Not a lot in the grand scheme of things when it comes to hiking gear, but for me it was a lot. But this frame on the back, it's kind of fabric, elastic, really, but it keeps the sack away from your back, allows for some airflow, stops you end up getting all sweaty. And it also spreads the weight really, really well. I found that if I kind of bounced a wee bit before I cinched up the hip belt, it put most of the weight on my hips, and that's really where the weight should be. And I might be hobbling into my stops at the end of the day, but I don't remember really ever having back pain, which is a bit weird if you've walked 15-20 miles with a backpack on. So I really, as I say, I can't speak highly enough about this. I thought we'd come through with one wee bit of damage, which is this loop here. Basically what you do is you put your hiking poles through here and then through here, and they kind of come up the front under your arm, so you don't have to stop and stow them in your pack if you're not going to use them for a while. I did use this quite a lot, and then the strap came loose and I was like, oh no, it's broke. I thought I could send it back to Osprey and they'd probably send me a whole new rucksack, but then it wouldn't be the rucksack that I'd done the West Highland Way with. So I wasn't going to go down that road, but just yesterday, I had a look at it and realised how it works, and realised it's not really, it didn't break. Well, kind of, slightly, maybe it did, but it was very easily fixed, and it's not going to break again, I hope. But even if it does, this is nice, but it's not necessary. You know, it's yeah, I could easily enough live without it. I did for the last couple of days. So brilliant. Highly recommend it. Comes in 3 different sizes, I think, in terms of its back, small, medium, and large. You can't adjust the straps for your own back size. You need to get the right size. Osprey actually have a tool, an app to help you do that. So no excuse for getting the wrong one, really. But yeah, great rucksack. Third of the big 3 is sleeping system. So what did I use when I was sleeping? Well, I used a X-Cline Exquisite Life mattress, blow-up mattress. And well, if you've watched the videos, you'll know that it didn't make it to the end. The last 2 nights, it didn't stay inflated, so kind of leaving it went in the bin. So it didn't make it home. Still have the sack go, so I can tell you what make not to get. And I have a replacement for that. If I'd been more organised, I would be able to pull it out right now because it is in here. Oh, it's handy. Here we go. So uni gear, very much in the low to mid range of quality. There was another one that was recommended, I think, by Thermarest, maybe in the UP80. Somebody commented and said that was a good one, and I was a wee bit annoyed because I just literally the day before ordered this. I would rather have gone with the recommendation. Same guy actually made another couple of recommendations, which I'll get to as well. So yeah, I've blown this up and it seems pretty sturdy. Seems sturdier than the last one. We'll see how that goes on the next trip. Hopefully it makes it to the end. It wasn't tremendously expensive. I'll put a link on for Amazon as well. Although, as I say, I haven't slept in this yet. I haven't carried it, so I can't recommend it. I think it'll be alright. I've got a good feeling about it, but yeah, I can't say it's brilliant because I've never tried it. So this, I didn't have this when I did the gear video. It's linked to that because it's a dry sack, obviously. I do like my dry sacks, but more importantly, it has a valve here which connects onto the valve of your air mattress, and it fits most. Well, I say that, it fits that one, it fit the last one, and obviously it will fit Sea to Summits because it's them that make it. So you fit that on there, blow into the bag if it's not windy, and then you just roll the bag down and it inflates your air mattress. Not in one bag full, it'll take 4 or 5, but it's a lot easier than breathing into your air mattress. And the other thing about breathing into an air mattress to inflate it is that it allows a lot of moisture in, which means you can end up with mould growing in the inside of your air mattress, which probably isn't going to do any harm, but it's not very nice thought really, and that more or less gets around that. So, right, what else we got? Sleeping wise, we have a sleeping bag. Again, shoved in a dry sack, which worked. This was never wet, which is great. I do like a wet sleeping bag. So this is a 3-season sleeping bag by Deeply. Came from Amazon and pretty good, no complaints. There was one night, it wasn't one of the last nights, it was one of the first nights that it was actually a little bit chilly, but that's because it's the only night that I didn't change my clothes and go to sleep in my thermals, which I did every other night. So when I actually paid attention to making sure I'd be warm, I was warm. And I'm not worried about this for September trip. If I was going in October, November, December, January, February, I would maybe be looking at getting a heavier sleeping bag, a more expensive sleeping bag. But this will do me. I'm perfectly happy with that. Again, link in the chat. It wasn't expensive. Most of my gear wasn't. And yeah, it does the job really well. So that's cool. Stove. Trangia, looking slightly more battle worn than it was before. And yeah, everybody is still going to say get a small gas burning stove. There's plenty of them. You can get them the actual attachments on Amazon for £10 or £11, and then you just screw that into a gas canister and you're good to go. I kind of said in the gear video 3-4 weeks ago why I don't like gas canisters, and I hold to that. I don't fancy the idea of walking about with a bomb strapped to me, but that's my individual hang up. I'm not anybody else's. So I did see other people using tranches, and they weren't just middle-aged people or older. There were a couple of young guys that were using it, so they still have popularity. I really like it. I've taken one of the pots out of it, so it weighs less than it would, obviously with the second pot still in it, and it's foolproof really. It didn't take that much mess. I took too much mess with me. Better to have a wee bit too much, I suppose, than to run out when you need it. So yeah, I'm going to keep using my Trangia, but for most people, probably a small gas stove is probably the way to go, because that's what most people use. Most people are probably right. I'm not sitting here from the background of any experience. You know, I've not been in the army. I've not been a long-term hiker. Nothing much to say other than this is what I've done. This is what worked. So that's all I can do. Oh, the other thing I was going to say. I suppose this comes under the sort of hints and tips thing, kinda. But there was a couple of places that I spoke negatively of during the videos. One was Bindglass campsite at the top of Loch Lomond. Whilst I hold by the fact that it wasn't as well organised as it could have been, I didn't really give them credit for actually being open at all during the COVID-19 thing. There's an awful lot of campsites that aren't, including almost all of the ones in my next trip. They're all shut to everything except camper vans. So the fact that Bindglass and other campsites on the West Island Way are managing to be open at all is excellent. So all credit to them there. My main gripe with them was that they didn't feed me. That's my main gripe with both places, actually. Bindglass did eventually feed me just as a takeaway and charge me extra. Still resent that. But if they had fed me, I would probably have nothing but good things to say. Place was a bit noisy, but you know, okay, fair enough. That's not directly their fault, I suppose. So yeah, you know, credit where it's due. They were open, and a lot of places aren't. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't. Right, King's House Hotel. Yeah, right. Don't like the way they're going. Obviously, they think it's the right thing to do. They're aiming for a more wealthy clientele. Although, if you actually buy your backpacking gear, then you've clearly got some money. But yeah, they're going up market, so they're not really encouraging walkers to use their hotel. But again, and I didn't mention this, they do still allow people to well camp practically in their back garden for free, and they do still provide showers and toilets for free. So you're not even paying to get a shower at King's House. I didn't actually. Did use the toilets, and I did use their water to fill up my water tap, my water bottles and stuff. So yeah, I don't like the way they're going, but they could be an awful lot worse. Right, they're still offering stuff, and they ain't even charging for what they are offering. So credit where it's due, I suppose. I just wanted to say that because I felt I'd been maybe a little bit unfair on both places, and I put a wee bit of balance on it. I'm still not happy with either, but I don't just want to slate them and say don't ever go there because they have positive points as well. Right, what's next? Flip flops. So the premise is once you get to your camp, you've been walking all day, you want to take your boots off, and you do for sure. But you don't really want to have to walk 100 yards to the toilet or something like that in the middle of the night. Have to put your boots back on, your socks might be wet, your boots might be wet. So you have another pair of something to wear. Makes perfect sense. Still think it makes perfect sense. I've never liked flip flops. I don't know why I thought flip flops would be a good shout when I've never liked them. Should have gone with other things, right? Some people use Crocs. I always think of a fashion disaster, but you're hiking, you're not at a fashion show, so maybe Crocs are a way to go. Apparently the not actually Crocs, like off-brand rip-off Crocs, are better because they're lighter. So bear that in mind. The same gentleman that already made one suggestion regarding sleeping mat said that water yoga shoes are a really good call, and I'd never even thought of something like that. But from what I can tell by looking, on Amazon, they're kind of almost like the shoes that you would use if you were swimming at a rocky beach. Some people don't like walking on pebbles and stuff, so you get like water shoes, and I think they look a bit like that. So yeah, good shout, quite light, quite sturdy, and you don't have to have that annoying thing stuck between your toes, which is actually where a lot of my blisters ended up. So not because of the flip flops, but just because. So yeah, I'll maybe look at the water yoga shoes, but most of the time when I got to camp, I wasn't caring. Right, I got to camp, sort something to eat out, go to the toilet, go to the tent, go to sleep. So I wasn't getting up and going to the toilet in the middle of the night. Next day I would just wake up and put my boots back on. So yeah, it's not that important for me, but I can see how it would be useful for people that had more energy at the end of the day and might want to spend a wee bit of time actually kind of in camp, which to be fair you weren't going to do because of the midges in August, but yeah, midge net. This went over my hat, which I lost on day 3 or day 4, I don't know. The hat was good. I'll link it in chat because it was good. I'm not going to buy another one. I'll tell you why in a minute. But the hat and the midge net work quite well. The midge net in itself works okay. It's more comfortable if you've got something to hang it off, like a hat. So I'd certainly recommend if you're going from May to August, or maybe June to August in Scotland, to have a midge net. So water bottles, talked about these a wee bit. I ended up carrying 3. Starting off, that was full of fruit juice. I got this one actually in an honesty box on day 1, but I was always going to pick up a 500ml bottle. So the idea here, right, is that you might start your day with, well, that's the pee bottle, alright, this one isn't, but that's basically what this was used for. This is just a bottle of the same type. So yeah, so these are the actual water bottles. Probably a good idea to have them separated in type of bottles so you don't end up cross-contaminating. But I've got water purification tablets, which were great. I've still got enough for my next trip, so marvellous. Don't need a filter as far as I'm concerned in Scotland if you've got these. But these do need to go 1 tablet to 1 litre of water, hence why you've got a 1 litre bottle. So basically I would start off, drink out of this, then refill from that to that. So I've got half a litre in here now, that one's full. Finish that, and then I know I've got my half litre left, in which to find a water source to refill the litre bottle. Does that make sense? I hope so. It made sense to me, and it worked as a system. I guess you find your own system, but for me that worked quite well. It always meant I had usually between a litre and a half and 500ml of water. Occasionally I would get all the way through this before I found a water source, but I think that maybe only happened once. So I never actually ran out, not entirely. So yeah, that was fine for the water. Smidge works quite well. Said that one of the days. And then you see the pictures on the last day, and I'm absolutely covered in midges now. I was also covered in smidge. Those midges that were on my hands and on my face were dead. I don't know why they landed. They must have known they were going to die, but they were obviously sufficiently desperate that they landed anyway. So I might have been coated in midges, but they weren't biting. So sorry to remove that little bit of mystique. I'm not some sort of Iron Man that can stand covered in midges and not flinch. Headlamp, used that a couple of times. Does the job. Cheap, Amazon, I'll link it. Battery pack, 1000 milliamp hours. Great. You kind of need, I think, especially if you're going to do any recording, you kind of need something like that. I think I could probably use a slightly bigger one, but you know, bigger they are, the more weight. So as long as you can find somewhere to recharge it, you're probably okay with a 1000 milliamp one. Right, I don't want to take too long over everything. Clothes, Berghaus fleece, great, not too heavy, kept me warm, exactly what I needed it to do. T-shirts, cheap hiking t-shirts, so very breathable, very dryable, from Amazon. They dry in no time at all. I had 2 of these, both great. I'll wear this one next time, but as well as one of those. Right, hiking trousers, Berghaus ones. Yeah, good. We know Berghaus are a good make, so that's the job. Don't know if I've got the other ones, the cheap Amazon knockoff. They were really good as well. They got wet, but that was on the second day, and everything was going to get wet on the second day because it just never stopped raining. So yeah, I'm comfortable with both sets of hiking trousers that I had. I'll use them again. I'm actually wondering whether or not just to take one for the next trip. I think I probably will just take one. Some people would say take shorts in the summertime. I would say no, because especially in Scotland it will rain. If you're wearing shorts, the rain will run down your legs, and no matter how waterproof your boots are or your shoes, you're going to get wet feet. And more importantly, ticks. There's a lot of ticks in Scotland. I didn't get any, but then I was wearing long trousers. You're much more likely to if you're brushing through bracken and ferns with shorts on. Obviously your hands are at risk as well, but yeah, hiking poles probably make that less. Anyway, I didn't get any tips, so I'll stick with my long trousers, thanks. These socks, bought these in Towndrum, and the reason I had to buy more socks is not because there was anything wrong with the other 3 pairs of socks that I took. They all seemed to be good. They didn't stop me getting blisters, to be fair, but I think that's the fault of the boots, which I'll get to in a minute. The problem I had was the concrete plasters that I was using on top of the blisters. Over the course of the day, they were kind of rubbing loose, and it meant that the inside of my sock was covered in like really sticky plastic concrete stuff, right? And it's not nice, and it's not really going to help the blister situation. So tried washing the socks just with water to get that stuff off. Wasn't coming off, right? it needed to be washed properly in the washing machine. When I got home, socks are all fine now, and I'll use them again. But that's why I got these, and these were actually, couldn't tell you what brand they are. I know they're basically polyester. They're nothing fancy. They're not merino wool or anything. But these for the last couple of days just felt more secure than the other ones that I brought. I think that's just in there though. But yeah, all good. What we got? Gloves. Right, I used these only once, and that was on the descent into Kinlochleven after Devil Staircase. That day, you know, once the Devil Staircase is done, you're like, woo, that's it, it's just downhill into Kinlochleven, all is good. Quite a lot of people have reported this, so it's not just me, but Kinlochleven moves. It's a strange town. Every time you can't see it, it moves away from you. I mean, it really shouldn't be far, and yet it takes hours to get to Kinlochleven. It's a bizarre thing. Very odd. But in any case, it was very wet, very windy that day, and coming down towards Kinlochleven when it wasn't moving. My hands were starting to get really, really cold. I've always had a problem with cold hands, especially in, well, winter time. It wasn't winter time, it was August, but it was quite high up. So put these on. Did they help? No. They're not very insulating. Are they a great success for me? No. Will I take them again? Probably not. Sealskin mittens. These will keep my hands warm. Right, they will be hopeless for doing any camera work or anything else other than holding hiking poles, but they will keep my hands warm. These would have been quite expensive, I think, were it not for the fact that these are actually ladies' gloves. They are extra, extra large ladies' gloves, which is probably why nobody was buying them. But yeah, fine. They fit me fine. And I've got quite big hands, but they are extra, extra large. So, those will work. Right, microfiber towel. Sure, I used this when I had the shower, and yeah, it's great. It's much bigger than a normal one. Doesn't weigh that much, and it actually did dry me, so success. I'll link that. If you're not very small. Frog Tog's water jacket. Heartily recommend. It was somewhere between 20 and 30 pounds, and a decent waterproof outer layer could cost you anything up to 200, depending if you buy it from a fancy brand, but certainly an awful lot more than 20 to 30 pounds. I don't know how these are so good for that price, but they are. This kept me dry, including on the second day where it never really stopped raining. So can't speak highly enough about it. No damage to it. Honestly, I don't know what to say to you other than get one. Brilliant. I'll link them. You can get waterproof trousers as well, but I'm just not a big fan of waterproof trousers. So again, probably because I'm an idiot. Tent pegs, tent poles. Talked about them already. Boots. I was going to say I never talked about boots when I did the gear video, which is daft because probably one of the most important bits of gear. These are Zamberlan hiking boots, 5 soles, leather, made in Italy. And unlike most Zamberlan stuff now, Zamberlan's an old Italian brand. They've been going a long time, like about 100 years. Quite good reputation for good solid hiking boots. These are my second pair of Zamberlans. I've never had a problem with them before. I've never had a problem with these ones. These are probably done 1,000 miles, possibly more. I've had them for over a year, and I live in a very wet town in a very wet country. So I wear these boots a lot because they're waterproof. Never had any blisters, never had any issues. And then you add 12 to 14 kilos onto your back, and all of a sudden everything changes. Right? And these did not work for me. Not at all. So I'll keep using them for what I used them for. But for hiking, for through hiking, for me, no, I don't think so. Not in the future. One thing I need to grab, which I forgot. this was a suggestion for, I've heard a couple of people talk about it. Basically lamb's wool, sheep's wool, but not stuff that's been really heavily treated and washed at high temperature, so it's still got the lanolin, the sort of natural animal fat in the wool. And apparently, a wee bit of that stuck in your sock where the blister is stops all problems, or you can wind it through your toes, and again, stops any problems with blisters. So it's like an old solution to an old problem. And I'm going to try it and see how that goes. Got that in Amazon. Paracord, didn't mention this in the first video. It's 3 meters of paracord. Weighs very little. Didn't cost very much. So it's a washing line. It's whatever you need. Spare tent line, potentially, guy lines, shoelaces, whatever else you can think of that you might need it for. Good to have. I used it for washing line, basically that's it. Shoes, I should have said while I was on that topic. The next ones are going to be Columbia trail running shoes. I forget the exact type. But yeah, shoes rather than boots. I guess times move on. I always thought, you know, you go on hiking, you need hiking boots, but no, apparently you don't anymore. So they should be arriving Monday. So I'll give them a shot and let you know how they work out. I've got some hopes that they'll be less damaging than the boots turned out to be. Hello, Trichology, I think. Yeah. That was good. Nothing to say about it. It worked. Wasn't used to having a camping pillow. Did the job. Right. Trowel for digging holes for pooping in. Didn't have one of these on the West Island Way. I did need to dig a hole once, and I dug it using hiking poles and a rock, and it took a lot longer than I would have wanted it to, and that's all I'm going to say. So taking this along now. Hopefully I won't need it, but I've got it. Doesn't weigh very much. There's even lighter ones. There's an American one called the Juice of Spades, which gets points for a clever name, but loses points because it's all made of, I think, aluminium, and it's very short. So you're basically trying to dig with something that doesn't have a long handle, and it just looks like it would be exceptionally painful in your hand to actually dig, especially in, you know, rooty, heathery type ground as we tend to have around here. So yeah, that looks like it's just more practical for the slight extra weight. Hiking poles. Trike right. Amazon, 20 quid. Right, for the two of these. I don't think I would have made it without them. For somebody that was quite disparaging about hiking poles before, yeah, I'll be using them in the future, because they do take, especially once you really learn how to use them, use the strap to put a lot of weight on. They really take a lot of weight off your knees and your ankles, so I don't think I would have made it to the end without them. Funnily enough, the stretches that I would have thought that I would have used these more were the really rough stretches, but actually I didn't use them at all, because you kind of need your hands free to grab stuff, pull yourself up and climb over things. Loch Lomond, I'm talking to you here. But yeah, you can get better ones, you can get lighter ones, or you can get £20 ones from Amazon. Stick some gel tape around it, because you never know. This, you'll saw that in the videos, I'm sure. Very useful. So useful to wipe down condensation in a tent. Didn't get any, but if I had, or if I'd spilled something, good wiping cloth, good sling, good neck scarf, good mask for going into shops in COVID times, and of course bandana to wear around your head, and probably lots of other things as well. But yeah, this cost £1, from which I think might even have been free with postage. Can't remember. Got that a few years ago. Heartily recommend. Right, so what else we got left? I've got a wee bottle of Misc over there. You know what Misc is, you don't need to see that really. Oh, earplugs, right, I was going to talk about these. Because a couple of people have asked me, After I was walking about for a day with an earplug stuck in my ear, you know, how can I not notice that I've got an earplug in my ear? Can I not, you know, is it not really obvious? Does it not feel uncomfortable? How did it stay in my ear for a whole day? And that is testament to these particular earplugs, which I got because I used to sleep with somebody that snored. Yeah, so I got slightly more expensive earplugs, and the fact that they are comfortable enough and you don't even notice they're there, and they still do the job. Yeah, you know, I'd recommend. You can get cheaper earplugs. These are from a company called Isolate, and I'll link them. They are, I think, more originally designed for loud music, but yeah, they do the job. Would recommend. Things that ended up in my first aid kit that didn't start in my first aid kit. Physiotherapy tape for blisters. It's the only thing that got me through the last day, I think. Held my feet together. And Savlon, which is an antiseptic cream, so also good for blisters unless you really want to be risking infections. Small tube, you get it in different sizes, but you might as well have the small one because it's less weight to carry. And another addition for the next trip. This is a camera tripod, but slightly more interesting than that because, you know, you can theoretically wrap it around the tree or something like that, and if you get it right, it'll stay. Of course it won't do it because I'm trying to demonstrate how marvellous it is. This is made by a company called Joby or Jobby. Either way, it's not going to sound very good if you're Scottish. And it is called a Gorilla something or other. I don't know. It's got a good little clasp here. It's not spring loaded, which is good because there's no chance of my phone falling out once it's in there. It's really solid. People do speak highly of it, and also just for carrying it when you're talking, that's more comfortable than trying to carry a phone. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And one little strong Velcro cinch strap so that I can actually Velcro that to my hiking pole, stick the hiking pole on the ground, and I have I think they call it a monopod rather than a tripod. And also for looking up above things and so on and so forth. Right, doesn't weigh very much, so I don't think it's too much of an extravagance really. A couple of other things. My food bag, not very much in it now. I'm starting to stock up for the next trip, so there's some Cadbury's drinking chocolate. I love this stuff, it's really good. Just before you're going to crawl into your tent and go to sleep, just have something hot and sweet, and then you get in your sleeping bag and you're already hot and you stay warm. It's great. So really recommend individual sachets of Cadbury's drinking chocolate. The only other thing left in here is ground coffee that I had with me. I'm going to try and find 100 grams of coffee because I was lugging about, like, you know, I started off with 225 grams and I was never going to use that much, so that's just dead weight. There's probably still 100 grams there, so yeah, took too much. So hints and tips, right? That was the first thing I was going to talk about, is about how much stuff do you take. And there were things that I took that I didn't need. I took too much coffee, I took too much meth. How do you know how much you're going to use? I suppose practice. But especially with somewhere like the West Highlands Way, there's enough shops that you can replenish for most stuff if you need to. So I would say take less, buy it on the way if you have to, if you run out. Don't be lugging stuff about that you don't need. I took like cream from my feet to make me feel better. I used it a couple of times and then brought most of it home. So for half the journey my feet were past the point that anything was going to make me feel better. So yeah, there's going to be weight trimmed out in my first aid kit. There's stuff there that I didn't need. Tea tree oil, I don't know what I thought really I was going to do with tea tree oil. But I've got that wee thing, Savlon now. I'll do the same job. You know, but it's a bit more functional. So yeah, I might even take some company again, even though I didn't have great success with it. But we'll see how that lamb wool goes. What else would I say? Hints and tips ones. Alright, a couple of things I'm going to say before I move on to that, just very briefly. So the next trip is going to be in about 2 weeks. It's going to be another hike very similar to the West Elm Way, and this time I'm doing it to raise some money for the organisation that I work for, which is a drug and alcohol recovery charity. So it's a good cause, right? And you know where this is going. There will be a link down by to a Just Giving page. If you can spare a couple of quid, great. If you can't, cool. It's services have been cut a lot over the last few years. We're still going to keep doing what we do. Of course we are. And it would be nice to be able to offer more than we've got the budget to offer. So that's basically why I'm doing the next trip. It's just to raise some money, so that we can get actually a couple of bikes, so that some of the people can get out and get some exercise and explore and just do things that are good for their mental health rather than sitting about. So yeah, that's the plan. Anyway, moving on. What was I going to say? Right, I mean, what can I tell you? You've probably watched, well, hopefully you've watched my videos, and you might have watched other people's if you're planning to do the West Island Way or any other long distance trip. Be really careful about every gram, because you will take stuff you don't need, and a lot of time you won't really know until afterwards what it was you didn't need. But you could probably have a look at the gear that you're planning on taking, and if there's something there that you think that might be useful, you probably don't need it. Right? If you know it's going to be useful, you need it. So weed through your stuff that way. Right? First aid kit stuff, okay, sure, you need to have some stuff that you hope you're never going to use. But from the rest of the stuff, give yourself a luxury. Mine was coffee, like I said, and that coffee cup which was still is attached to the rucksack. Absolute star, genius. How to make proper coffee on the trail. Worked the charm, loved it. I'll link it. If you drink coffee, get one. You need to work out milk though, if you don't drink black coffee like me. So every confidence in you. Dry bags, right? So I used a lot of dry bags for different stuff. I think it's a great system. I took one extra dry bag, actually that pump sack for the air mattress that I showed you earlier. That started off early, but as soon as I had wet clothes, they went in there so that they didn't make everything else wet until I could get to somewhere where I could dry them, and that was a good system. Worked out quite well. I didn't really have any problem with anything getting wet that I didn't want to be wet. So yeah. Right. The other thing is, if you watch the videos of the West Elm Way, you see a lot of the same stuff in the videos. People tend to take footage of much the same stuff as each other, and I guess it's just because some things are more obvious and you think, oh well, I really ought to take a photo of that or a wee bit of video or something. But the bits that will stay with me are the bits that I hadn't seen, and maybe it's just because it was a nice day, but the stretch between Bridgeworky and Baroran, which is not one that famously gets a lot of coverage, was just absolutely beautiful. It was jaw dropping. It was a nice day, and I felt quite good that day. That was the day that I realised that I was running out of tobacco, so that was a bit of a blow, but everything else was good. And it was just because it was unexpected, I guess, it was just all the better. So I guess the thing to say there is that don't go thinking, right, you're going to see this, and that's what you're going for. Like, you're going to see all sorts of things that you weren't expecting to see, and those might be the bits that stay with you, which they certainly were for me. I guess it doesn't really matter what trail it is you can do, you're going to find something beautiful if you look for it. What I'm doing next is the Great Glen Way, which is normally done from Fort William to Inverness. I'm going to do it from Inverness to Fort William, because that's going south and therefore must be downhill. actually the rationale is that just Fort William's closer to home, so it makes sense to go to Inverness, walk to Fort William, get a bus back to home. I know what I'm doing with that, so it makes more sense. Not really a big secret. It's going to be 5 days probably, in all likelihood. Weather probably won't be that great because summer is past. We're into autumn now. It'll probably rain a lot. And I'll vlog it as I do it, and hopefully it'll be interesting, and there'll be stuff to watch and talk about. I might talk a wee bit about the sort of organisation that I work for, a wee bit, and what we do, and what we'd like to do. But I'll try not to do that too much because I don't want to be boring people. It's really about the walk, it's about the trail, it's about the nature, and it'll be about the camping because all the campsites on the Great Glen are shut. So it'll be about the wild camping. So that's the plan. Leaving in a couple of weeks. This has gone on way longer than I wanted it to, so I'll just shut up, and I'll stick the links in for stuff that you might be interested in down below. The Just Giving link will be there as well. And seeing as you're here, if you've actually listened to me rabbit this long, then just take the extra 2 seconds to hit the little red subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Cheers. Thanks, guys. And I'll catch up with you at some point in a couple of weeks.